Hi everyone, thanks for joining me once again. Now, this week is my full review of the VOGE 650 DSX. Right then guys, so let's start here. So thanks again for coming along to another bike review. To look at the bike, I think it looks really nice. I've got the bins on today, so you get loads in these as well. Aluminium. They are very strong, very solid. They are lockable as well. They've got a decent gasket around the outside here, and I really like the way that the way they lock up. And to pull them off, you just put the key in, unlock it, and it's as simple as that. They literally just clamp on. Again, like this operates really nicely, and you've got enough to get your pork roll in, a can of Pepsi. If you take that lot out, you'll get a full face helmet in there as well. And then on this side, on the exhaust side, obviously it's slightly smaller. The profile needs to go around the exhaust. You've got that there. A very capable bike off-road, a very capable tourer, and with the boxes off, it's actually pretty good going around the city as well. And it's a nice ride. So, speaking of a nice ride, let's get on the bike. Right, so what I'm going to do on this review is I'm going to give you all the information I can without making the video too long. So I'm going to do a walk round, let you know some spec, let you know what it's like on the dual carriageway, let you know what it's like in town, and I would describe the bike as best as I can. Now I have got the screen in the highest position at the moment, and through my experience so far, it kind of takes the wind off your higher torso, but I still get quite a bit on the helmet. Bearing in mind that I am 5'8". And already I'm quite comfortable at this speed. But that being said, as I get a bit faster in a moment, once I get past the slipstream of these lorries, it will start to become a bit more, a bit windier. So opening it up at 65 miles an hour, there's your 70. Now at 70 miles an hour, I'm at 4,500 revs. I'm getting vibrations through the seat. But that being said, you have to bear in mind that this is a brand new bike. I got it when it was only on 18 miles, and now it's on 114. So it's going to take some time for those vibes to disappear in a single pot engine. But it's very comfortable. Roll on power, I've got a little bit more. I'm not going to break the speed limit too much. I am filming this at the end of the day, but it is handling this speed quite nicely, and the engine doesn't feel strained. Although I don't feel like I've got a huge amount more left. I think they say that this bike will do 105 miles an hour. I think cruising speed is about, it's probably around 75. Hello mate. It's got a 5-speed gearbox as opposed to a 6, which I guess you could say is slightly unusual for these days. But again, at this speed, I feel very comfortable. Something that we all have to do every now and then is munch through some traffic. And for the 650 DS, it's quite a nimble machine considering that it is quite a big bike. We have that decent sized front wheel, which tends to bring us around the corners quite nicely, in and out of the traffic if we need to. And the handlebars are quite a good height as well, so you're not going to hit any car mirrors. Just have to be a bit more careful with the van mirrors. Now I'm just going to show you something here. Now the fueling is quite like not most other bikes. There's not a lot of grunt below 2,500 revs. And that's the way single cylinders do generally work. I mean, on a 125 you don't really notice it because, you know, the power's not there, but with this one, because you have got a lot of power, it doesn't cut in until after 2,500 revs. Nothing, and then boom, off it goes. So that's just the way single cylinders react. But it does take a bit of getting used to when you're used to bikes that generally have low end torque. This hasn't got that. It's all sort of 2,500 revs onwards, so it takes a bit of getting used to that if you're not used to it. Now, though this is quite a powerful 650 engine, it's not particularly a fast 650 engine. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take it to my favourite 0 to 60 testing spot here. And there it is. So like I say, it's not the fastest 650, but it's not trying to be either. You know, it is what it is, and it's still quick enough for the road, and certainly off-road I would say that, you know, there's quite a bit of power there. What it is good at is the torque side of things, really. If you got this thing loaded up, I'd imagine that it would still be as quick as what it was there, because that's what this bike is all about, keeping up the high revs and yeah, and just the power at the top end. So no, it's not quick, but it's quick enough. Let's try the brakes a second. So we got a twin disc on the front, so that's the front brake on. Yeah, stops lovely. And now we'll try the rear one with the ABS on. Yeah, I feel it skipping around lovely. I'm holding on to the ABS button and you see it flashing there. That's just telling me that the ABS on the rear is now off. So we'll pop down here a second. And obviously when you're riding off-road, that's going to come into its own, isn't it? Right, so just going to stop. So very controlled, and one good thing with this bike is that it is very poised in an upright position. So even when it does start to slide out of control, it is still relatively controllable, and it will keep itself upright. So that's a good thing. And there you go, put a nice line in the road there, look. But that is just to show you that even though this bike is quite high up, it is still very controllable even with the ABS off. It turns in really nicely, and you sort of it's just a perfect balance really. You don't feel like you're going to lean it over and it's just going to get heavier as you go over. It just keeps itself poised really nicely. I really like that about this bike. It's one of its main big plus points, and it's very stable as well. You still get a relatively good amount of front end feel. You know what the front's doing all the time, even though it has got a relatively large 19-inch wheel down there. Right, so I'm going to cross over to the Walkround now.
The 2022 VOGE 650 DSX is a 652cc engine, single cylinder, 5-speed gearbox, which produces 49.6 horsepower at 6,750 RPM, and torque is set at 60 Newton meters at 5,500 RPM. It has a top speed of 105 miles per hour. So we have a dual disc on the front, which works very well and is very positive. They are Nissan calipers, front and rear. We also have the Pirrelli Scorpion rally tyres as well, which are very good on-road, very good off-road. And also they are tubeless, even though we have a spoked wheel on this bike, again, which is great for off-road and stability. It is still tubeless tyres. So, you know, if you get a puncture, then you'll just take a plug and go kit with you and you'll be up and running again within a matter of 10 minutes. We also have a 12-volt DC outlet as well. So if you have a puncture and you take a compressor with you, then that's where you can plug it in. Now, if I wasn't on grass, I'd normally stand on the foot pegs to get on and get my leg over. But because I'm on the grass, that's not a good idea. Right, so everything is in a natural place, including the handlebars. I don't feel like I'm reaching or I'm over the tank. It's just a typical adventure bike stance, and they've got it spot on. The peg height as well is relatively middle of the road, I would say. I've got a nice bend on my legs. I don't feel like I'm up too sporty. Now, while we're talking about this, we'll talk about the pillion comfort as well and the rear seat. And now that doesn't look a very big seat, but actually is very comfortable. It comes with a nice 2 inches of foam to sit on there and is very soft. In fact, I'd even say the rear seat is nicer than the rider seat, which is a lot harder. So I'm 5'8" tall and I have a 30-inch inside leg measurement. And I'm finding that on tarmac, bear in mind that this is grass here, on tarmac, I'm pretty much on the balls of my feet, but very much in control. The bike does also come with a centre stand as standard as well, which is a nice addition. Very easy to get up on the centre stand. Now, whilst I've got it up on the centre stand, let me just show you what this bike is like on the pegs. So if you're doing off-road riding, you want to get your weight over the front wheel and also stand up on the pegs. And again, you know, I've got very straight arms. I'm very comfortable being 5'8". I feel like I can grab the tank or grab the seating area with my legs here, my knees. Yeah, so it's a big tick on that front. Remember that this bike that you're looking at now, apart from the panniers and the Topbox, is what you get for £6,400, which in today's prices is a very good price indeed. Now, if you wanted the panniers with it and the Topbox and the scaffolding around it, then that's another £900. And one of the tests that I done when I test rode the VOGE 500 DS was I mentioned in the Walkround about the supply of spare parts. Now, I've been keeping an eye on it, and I mentioned it in my video. They said that they had a container coming over with a load of parts on it. Sure enough, I didn't tell them this, but I kept an eye on the website, Chinese Parts Online, and the following week that the full review got launched, they had a full stock of parts, which is exactly what we needed. So good on them for that. They know what they need to do, these guys, and they seem to be doing it. So I would say that this will probably be the same. We'll probably find in time that they'll have a full range of parts that will be available within 3 days. On the right hand bar we have the kill switch, hazard lights and start button, and on the left bar we have the ABS on and off, high beam, low beam, indicators and horn, and a pass light on the opposite side. And the switchable ABS as well is always an important point for off-road riding. Suspension, we have KYB suspension on the front and on the rear. The front is non-adjustable and the rear is preload adjustable only. It's a Bluetooth connectable screen which you can tie to your phone, which will tell you up the top here who's calling you. We have a fuel gauge, a temperature gauge down here, odometer, average fuel consumption, which I'm getting about 8.6 litres per 100 miles. A rev bar going up around the outside, the time, battery meter, fuel gauge. Okay, so let's talk about the things I don't like about the bike. Firstly, is the screen isn't very high, kind of takes the air off of your chest area, but everything else, it becomes quite noisy. And not to mention also that you have to get off the bike to adjust it. And lastly is the fuel consumption. Seems to be pretty high, but let's remember that it is a single cylinder engine, so it does like to be revved higher than what you would from a parallel twin. But apart from that, I like the bike. I think it's a wonderful feeling bike to ride. Lovely to chuck into the corners. Yeah, I mean, I just really like the bike, so I hope they do really well. It should do. You will be seeing VOGE dealers pop up all over the place because they got, you know, a lot to sell now. Not only have they got the 500 DS now, which is a fantastic bike, but they've got this 650 as well, and the 500 AC, which is basically the street version of the 500 DSX. So they're doing really well. They're bringing it, that's 3 good bikes that they've got now, from my knowledge. What's the bike like over long term? I don't know. I mean, the 500 DS that I rode, the engine was sweeter than that. I mean, this engine is a bit more raucous, obviously, being a single, being a big 650 as well. You know, in all honesty, all bikes have their glitches. You know, I don't care whether it's a Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki or whatever. They all have their little things which need to be tweaked. Thank you very much to VOGE for letting me have the bike, you know, for a decent amount of time as well. It's not like it's just a day's ride out here. You know, I've got this bike for a little while yet. I'm going to have it for over 3 weeks. So thank you very much for that, and thank you for letting me do an honest review as well. You know, they haven't said to me, you know, make sure it's a good review or anything like that. They just said, there's the bike, do what you need to do, and fingers crossed it will turn out all right, and it has. It's a cracking bike. So thank you very much to VOGE. Thank you to you for watching. If you could like and subscribe, that would be great, and I'll catch you next week.